I love Thor Ragnarok.
Tons of people die, and we're just laughing. Like like they make a joke, and we're laughing while they're watching their planet burn down.
No. The people all got on the ship.
No, but not everyone.
No. Everyone got on the ship.
Oh my god. Everyone got on the ship. Not everyone got on the ship.
Everyone alive got on that ship. Everyone alive that Hela didn't kill got on that ship.
All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about Rotten Tomatoes top 10 lists for MCU movies. Whether or not we agree with it or whether or not we need to roast it, that's really going to be the question here. And as far as the top 10, I'm going to go through the list from the number 1 to the 10th. So starting with number 1 will be Black Panther, 96. Then from there we got Avengers Endgame, which is 94. Next is Ironman, which is another 94. Then it's Thor Ragnarok, which is 93. Spider-Man Homecoming, 92. Guardians of the Galaxy, 92. Shang-Chi, 92. Avengers, 91. Far From Home, 90. Captain America Civil War, 90. And that's number 10. That's number 10. All right, so we're going to start going, down from basically from 10 to 1. So we're going to start with Captain America Civil War. Do we feel that should be number 10 or it should be much more higher?
I'm gonna go out and say that Civil War should definitely be way high. Okay, I mean, the thing is, Rotten Tomatoes is a weird thing. It's not necessarily that this is the rank, like a 96 movie is better than a 90 movie. But the thing about Rotten Tomatoes and how they do their scoring is that it's the percentage of people who critiqued it that gave it a positive review versus a negative review. So if you have a movie with 96%, just more critics liked it than a movie that has 90%, or not as many critics like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes too, if a movie has a lot of reviews, I feel like it kind of goes away from extreme. So it could have a high score, but then as more people review it, it kind of lowers just because it's an older film, or it just has a lot of people that review it with differing views,
opinions,
I guess.
And,
So it's not a perfect system.
The whole point of this video is to decide whether or not we agree or disagree.
Yeah, basically, yes. Whether or not, despite its, rules, whether or not people should follow these rules and be like, oh, well, it has 96, so it must be a good movie.
Rotten Tomatoes, exactly.
Yeah, no.
But Captain America Civil
Everyone's
War
Mickey.
should definitely not be number 10 on the list of Marvel movies.
I think this falls in the category of a movie that has just had way too many people review it, so it might have fallen in the ranks. But I'm glad it is in the top 10. I think it deserves to be in the top 10. And I agree. I think it could be a little higher on the list. A lot of
It'll be top 5 for me, but that's a whole different story.
At least top 3. At least top 3 or 5.
Well,
three.
If you look at the top 5, excluding Iron Man, it's all stuff that's newer than Civil War.
Which is interesting.
That's what I'm saying. They have less reviews and probably more positive ones, and that kind of tips the scales. Is what I'm saying.
So you're saying the Spider-Man movies?
Well, yes, I feel like if anybody claims,
we know where he's going. We know where he's going.
Any of these Tom Holland Spider-Man movies is better than Captain America Civil War or Winter Soldier, which is not on this top 10 list, mind you.
Yes.
Then you have a problem. You have a problem. I don't know what to tell you.
It's been a huge can of worms.
Yes, we opened.
We weren't even
the multiple universes already.
But we haven't gotten there yet.
Scott,
we haven't gotten there yet.
Only one of them is a Spider-Man movie in the top 5.
Okay.
A lot of them are, besides Iron Man, newer ones.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I think when you have less reviews and most of them are positive, that's gonna make your percentage a lot higher than say an older film that has had time for people to review it and maybe bring the score down a little. And that's why I feel Shang-Chi is also even on this list at so high is because it's so new and people flooding Rotten Tomatoes with positive reviews and whatnot, because it's kind of a trend.
Yeah, exactly. And we got to bring Rotten Tomatoes down. So overall, could we all agree that Civil War should at least be in if not the top 3, at least top 5?
Yeah, for sure.
Do we all agree on that? Anybody have a disagreement? Anybody want to be no?
I have to think about it more. I have to look at all the lists of the MCU movies, but Civil War was definitely up there for sure.
Yeah.
There are, in the top 5, there are some that I think like should definitely be there. And yeah, okay, then I agree.
Yeah.
I agree that it should be like maybe like top 5 because there's some where I'm like, okay, this should be down a little more.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next one. Spider-Man: Far Away from Home.
Far From Home.
Far from home.
Far away from home.
Far from home. Yes.
Yeah.
So what about that one?
So that's number 9. Do you guys feel that that deserves to be there? So this is an interesting one because
Because it's wrong.
no, it's interesting to me because when I think about the movies ahead of it, I would say that this deserves to be higher. But then when I think about the overall MCU, I guess I could see it being the top 10. I can see it at the overall MCU.
Why do you think it's top 10?
I think it's top 10 because I feel like it opened another can of worms that needed to be opened in terms of like the whole Spider-Man, like the idea that him being his identity getting crossed, not to mention it kind of bridges between a lot of the MCU movies. And I feel like it actually, as much as I don't like that there's a lot of MCU involvement in the Spider-Man, I do feel like it has, I feel like out of all the MCU involvement in the movie, it does feel more cohesive with the storytelling and whatnot. So I definitely think it does deserve to be in the top 10. I might even put it at 10. If I had to say top 10, I think it'd be in number 10 for me.
I think that the best thing about that movie is the Jake Gyllenhaal. Like he was the best part of Far From Home. And then also the end credit scene. But other than that, everything else was blah.
Bland?
Yeah.
I
I just, you know, I felt I was pretty bored throughout the movie, like when Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't there, and then until the end. But everything else is like, whatever. He's Far From Home.
Wait, is Infinity War in this list?
No.
No.
I was going to say that. That makes Far From Home higher than Infinity War.
That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy that that's not even the top 10.
I don't understand why Infinity War is not top 5. Like,
Big agree.
Infinity War is like one of the best MCU
I agree.
movies.
100% agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even Guardian Galaxy's in this list.
Yeah, I was going to call that out actually. Guardian Galaxy
Guardians,
is on the
the
list.
first Guardians is on this list.
Oh, it is? It's on the top 10?
If I would.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I would want Guardians 2 to be on the list too, in my opinion. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy films.
But yeah, that's why I wouldn't put Far From Home on this list, because like we're already talking about Winter Soldier is not on this list.
Okay, that's fair. I
And
forgot about that.
Infinity War is not on this list.
Okay.
That already
Again,
invalidates this list.
That's true. It's true. But again, I think what I was saying is because like comparing to the list, because there's a difference between comparing to this list and then like my overall or the overall top 10. So I would say in the overall 10, of course, you know, Infinity Wars and Winter Soldier will definitely be way more than Spider-Man Homecoming. But I mean Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah. But I definitely do think that Far From Home, if not 10, 11.
I would put Black Widow ahead of Far From Home.
What?
No. That's where I strongly disagree. This is where I strongly disagree.
Not you're invalidating yourself.
No, really strongly disagree.
You're just trying to be at this. Okay, you were valid. You were valid. Now I think you're being a troll, dude.
You were reasonable.
I agree. Look, I agree with you. I don't think Far From Home should be on this list. Actually, if I'm going down the list, I'm seeing Infinity War and Winter Soldier and Guardians 2 is like way below it. That's weird to me. So I guess Chuka, you agree with it being on here. The rest of us, I agree it should not, like maybe should be like number 11.
Number 11? That could be a fair thing.
12.
I guess keep in mind, I'm looking at, I'm not assuming by me making Far From Home top 10, I'm not saying that all the other ones on the list are like correct either. So there's probably like, again, if I saw Winter Soldier on that list, I'll definitely put it higher, or any other movie that I felt on the list would be higher. I'm just saying that overall, out of the whole MCU universe movies, I definitely can see it 10. But if 11, if we can agree that 11 is something, except for OC is probably going to put it on like what, 11,000 on his list.
Sure. Yeah,
point is, we can agree on that. But let's move to.
I mean, it's better than some other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Yeah, let's go to Avengers.
Number 8.
This is another one that should be higher on the list, in my opinion.
Really, the original Avengers?
I think it should be.
I'm not mad at it being number 8 in the top 10. I'm not mad at that.
I was gonna say the same thing. I think it it doesn't. It
I
belongs on the list,
respect
but I
it.
think it could be lower too.
Yeah, I respect it being there. I think a lot of people really enjoy the first Avengers. And to be fair, like, it did something that, was never done at the time. Because it was the first of its kind.
That's true.
But just because it was the first of its kind doesn't mean it's the best of its kind, in my opinion. So I'm not mad at it being number 8 in the top 10 list for Marvel movies. Yeah, I would keep it there.
I'm just curious if you feel that way about it being the first of a kind, and then because of the end of the kind, it doesn't really matter. I wonder how you're gonna feel about Endgame when we get to that, because that's another movie that most of the reason why people like it is because it's the first of its kind. So we can really.
That's fair though. I mean, a lot of like older movies that have like perfect scores, it's like they have that because they were like groundbreaking, like kind of game changers, and that's fair. If even if it was higher on the list, I wouldn't be mad at it either. But I think it belongs where it is.
And number 8 is my favorite number. It's at a good place.
Okay. Well,
We'll let it live.
well, for the most part, everyone agrees to be on 8. I'm a little bit different, but who knows? That might change. All right, next is Shang-Chi.
Which is crazy because we called out like before this that we were referring to a list that was just like a little bit older, and
Yeah.
Shang-Chi was, what was it, like a little bit lower than this?
It was like right below.
I think it was like number 8, so now it's 7.
So Shang-Chi is rising up in the ranks pretty quickly just because of, I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I do think it belongs on the top 10 list. It's like personally becoming like one of my favorite Marvel movies. I watched it twice in theaters. And there's a lot to love about it, I think. It's not a perfect film, but I think, even though it falls within the Marvel formula, there's a lot in it, too, that I haven't seen, not just in a Marvel film, but in film in a long time.
I think for the fight scenes and Tony Leung alone, it definitely deserves to be in top 10, for sure.
Valid. Just those
Yeah,
two things.
you're right. I definitely think because like the creativity behind the fights, as well as just even the way the story was, like it has a lot of potential, and it's just again it's unique. So I'll definitely put it. Yeah, it's definitely, now when I think about it, I'll definitely put it way higher than Spider-Man: Far From Home. So.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it.
You don't need to rewatch Far From Home.
Yes, he does.
Shang-Chi, I need to rewatch
Oh, Shang-Chi, okay.
Yeah.
to have like a more structured opinion about it.
Yeah.
But as a first impressions type of thing, because I've rewatched like pretty much every MCU movie, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least once.
Once. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Even Captain America, the most boring one.
Yeah.
Even Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really pay attention. It was it was with my cousins. They wanted to watch it. I was just like typing on my computer.
Okay.
Any other
Yeah.
thoughts on Shang-Chi?
We agree it should be on the top. Okay.
Yeah.
Curious, would you put it on 10 or 8? What would be your guys' rating for this movie?
10 or 8?
Like, if
I mean,
it,
just looking at this list, I think it belongs where it does.
so you think it belongs? So you'd put
This
it
is at 7 right now on
at
this
7.
list.
So like in your guys' like full top 10 list in general, like you would put it 7?
I don't know if I'd put it 7, maybe 8 or 9. I would have to like sit down and think about
Okay,
it.
that's
I would do a whole overhaul of this list because there are
Yeah,
some
it's hard
that
to-
are above it, or there's some below it that I'm like, oh, that should be above it. And
Yeah,
there's some below
exactly.
it where I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely above
It's hard
that.
to judge based off of this
Yeah.
list right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
At least top 10, I'm not mad at it.
Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy, which
Number 6.
Agree. Guardians is like, if not my favorite Marvel film, one of my favorites next to, I mean, before Shang-Chi came out, I was like all about Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, I like these guys more than the Avengers.
okay.
It's that movie's different. It's like, it's just
Yeah.
not like the other Avengers films. And like the fact that such like a weird ragtag team could like really steal our hearts in the cinema just is a token to James Gunn and the way that the film was made and the great ensemble cast. So I agree. It could be higher too, in my opinion.
Guardians of the Galaxy is an interesting one for me because there was a time when it was like one of my favorite MCU movies. It was like top 3 for me. But then I think that it kind of unfortunately jump-started the whole undercutting serious moments with comedy in the MCU. And so
You
I have
think
like
this movie set that off?
yeah, I think this movie kind of like this was the first Marvel movie where it was like, oh, you're just trying to be funny. You're just trying to be funny, which I loved. And at the time I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And I still love it. It's been a while since I've rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy, so I should probably rewatch it again. But I'm not mad at having it be in the top 10. I don't know if I would keep it this high at number 6 in the top 10, but I'm not mad at it being in the top 10.
I would. I think as an isolated thing, like not thinking about like what it kickstarted like that. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, even like DC was trying to do the same thing, trying to get more comedy in their stuff. But as its own contained thing, like Guardians of the Galaxy is great. I think James Gunn wasn't thinking about trying to make it cohesive with like the other Marvel films.
That's true.
He was just
So
doing
true.
his own thing. And you could tell it was a great story, good cast.
Yeah.
I think it was a good story too. I would want Guardians 2 on my top 10 also. I mean, I'd have to think about it, but like top of mind, my top 10 would probably include like Guardians 2.
Okay. So yeah, we did.
I think we should have probably answered this with a list of our top 10.
We could probably do another video where we do our own list
We could.
Yeah.
of
Because
top
without that, it's so hard to judge. It's so many movies, you know?
That's true. That's true. But I guess in general, do we see this at least being a top 10? Like, even if it's not your list, like just like it'd be weird if you don't put this in your 10. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Wait, so is Thor Ragnarok on the list?
yes,
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
getting to that.
we're getting there.
But we agree with Guardians
Do we agree?
for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, for the most
Okay.
part. All right. So next is Spider-Man: Homecoming. So this one to me is weird because it's like I honestly think Far From Home is better than Homecoming. So that's just my opinion. But I'm curious, as OC, the Spider-Man hater, how do you feel about Homecoming versus Far From
Okay,
Home?
OC is not a Spider-Man hater.
I'm not a Spider-Man hater. I just
The
don't
Tom
like
Holland
The
hater.
Tom Holland hater.
it. No, I don't hate Tom Holland either. He's a fine actor.
Sorry, he's an MCU.
I don't like his version of
Spider-Man.
I
Spider-Man.
know, I get it. It's the writing because this is not a Spider-Man who's like on his own doing his
Yeah.
own thing. A lot of times his efforts are undercut by the other Avengers.
Yeah.
Or like specifically
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, which sucks.
Yeah,
but
Yeah,
but,
which
you know.
that being said, I do feel like Homecoming is better than Far From Home for me. I think that the story was more interesting for Homecoming. And I didn't find myself being bored in Homecoming, where I found myself being bored in Far From Home.
Interesting.
So
Well, yeah, it's the spirit of like Peter Parker is still there with Tom Holland because he makes a good Peter Parker, I think. And
which being said, I definitely would not have this in my top 10. I would not have it in my top 10. I'd have it above Far From Home, but I wouldn't have it in top 10. Not for me.
okay.
I don't have strong opinions about this.
Okay.
I personally enjoyed both Spider-Man movies, and I'm a Spider-Man fan, so I don't think like I'd mind them being in the top 10.
Yeah, I just don't think Homecoming should be on the top 10. Not that I do like the movie. Don't get it twisted. It's a good movie, but my reason why I prefer Far From Home over Homecoming.
It wouldn't be in top 5, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure, definitely not top 5. And I think this is the 5th one if we really look at it on this list. So they're
Yeah, this
basically
is
saying
number 5.
This is number
This
5.
is top 5 here.
I think
Okay,
this
sure.
is another example of a Marvel film that had a huge cultural moment where people were like just high on like, oh, it's a new Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and
that's
giving
fair.
it-
That's
Because
fair.
I kind of agree with you because I watched Homecoming not in theaters. I watched it later. And when I did watch it, I was like, that was good. But it definitely wasn't as good as like some people were making it seem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see where you're coming from. I understand it being on this list, even if I don't completely agree. I understand it being on here, and I think if it was like really important to people, you know, then they gave it like a great review. I think they're valid and it belongs on here.
To be fair, the last Spider-Man movie we had was The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was not the greatest impression left on the Spider-Man movie series. So when you come from that, I guess I can see where the biases and the hype comes in.
Yeah.
But let's go.
Electro.
Yes. Let's go to the 4th one I'm believing, which is Thor Ragnarok.
They're right, Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I think this is the movie that did what you said, OC. that Guardians of the Galaxy did for the MCU. I think it was Thor Ragnarok.
I love Thor Ragnarok. I think this movie belongs where it is. Yo,
Top
fight
five.
me. It's top
I'll
five.
fight you right
It's
now.
top five.
No, I will. Yeah.
It's 100% top five.
It's 100% top 5 for Scott.
Yeah.
This movie's very polarizing for
It's
me.
the funniest MCU movie in my opinion.
It is.
That's not. Yeah, that's true.
In
That's
some
probably
way
true.
it is, but in some way it also just. I don't like how they just ruined Thor's homeland like
Yeah.
that. It was just like they basically said, "Oh, all his people are destroyed."
I mean, you're missing the message. Asgard is a people, not a place. And everything just got erased in Infinity War. The people got slashed in half.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not Ragnarok's fault. It's Infinity War's fault.
No.
Yeah, but the
Infinity
way
War
they
sucks.
wait.
Scott is right. I mean, in a roundabout way, and like in a oh haha like way, they did say that Ragnarok or not. Yeah, they said that they're like they're people, right? They're not a land.
Sure. But the movie,
Sure.
the thing with this movie is that yes, it's a really funny movie. But why can't we have
It's like perfectly paced too.
why can't we have moments for the tragedy to actually breathe? Like that's the thing that I
Yeah.
hate.
Because
Yeah,
it's
this
a comedy.
It's
Yeah,
like-
It's
this
not that
movie-
filmed, and Taika Waititi is not that guy.
no, he is like the thing about because with Taika Waititi, we watched him in Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
And we saw
We've
like
talked about this before.
we've probably had this conversation before, but like Jojo Rabbit, the shoe scene in that movie is like one of the most heartbreaking scenes. Even though that movie is hilarious, but he still has like those moments of tragedy that we just kind of sit in sadness.
Well, the content is also
Sure.
yeah.
But then at the same time, it's like this is the movie where his whole planet is destroyed, like tons of people die, and we're just laughing. Like like they make a joke, and we're laughing while they're watching their planet burn down.
No. The people all got on the ship.
No, but not everyone.
No. Everyone got on the ship.
Oh my god! Not everyone got on the ship.
Everyone alive got on that ship.
Everyone
bro.
alive.
Everyone alive that Hela didn't kill got on that ship.
I think it also might have been a disappointment because I was excited. I thought it was gonna be really good because Hela is such an interesting character. Like there's the death of Odin in that movie, all of that stuff, but all of it felt undercut. It felt shallow to me with like the fact that they decided to put the focus on the haha funny instead of give equal balance to there's serious stuff going on here, and then use the jokes at particular
I
points.
kind of agree, just because like I feel like this Taika Waititi and this film could have been the film that catapulted Thor into being like one of the best Avengers, and then
He is the best Avenger.
you really think that?
I have to think about it a bit more, but he
He probably is the
Okay.
best Avenger.
he certainly is one of the best players, or like strongest.
Yeah, I'll
players.
never forget that
probably is
Infinity
the
War.
best
That
Avenger.
moment where he almost basically killed Thanos, but
Yeah.
Exactly.
He hit.
And
Bring me Thanos.
That was one of the best
Yes.
moments.
yeah. Okay, Infinity War was when we got to see the repercussions of everything happen from Ragnarok as well.
Yeah.
We saw his character still being comedic, but also being like, it's like dark humors. He's like,
Yeah.
clearly, he doesn't care if he
exactly.
dies. He's
Exactly.
just gonna try to kill the guy who killed his people.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's okay if you guys disagree with me.
I kind of disagree. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is funnier, and it does.
Yeah, I
and it
agree.
has an emotional scene with like Groot and everything, where I'm like actually kind of crying in that film. So I think maybe Thor Ragnarok could go a little lower in my opinion too.
Yeah.
No, I think Thor Ragnarok is funnier.
I know, and I'm aware that like most people love Thor Ragnarok.
Most people do.
Most people love this movie.
I think if you're a fan of like dialogue, and just witty banter,
Yeah, there's a
think
lot of that.
Thor Ragnarok is probably in this list like the best that there is. The best. I think. I mean, Taika Waititi has a lot of strengths, and in this film, he's playing towards the funny, and that's fine. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people are into it. and
I think
so-
if we're talking pure entertainment,
Yeah.
this one was one of the best in terms of the movies we've talked about so far.
Yeah. I guess we can say, because, like I said, the Marvel movies are kind of like its own genre of something. So I guess you can say if this is trying to go for the pure wacky comedy thing.
Yeah, this Thor Ragnarok is camp.
It is camp. It's camp. Although I agree that I prefer Guardians of the Galaxy style just because it's more creative. But yeah, if we're just going pure camp, it definitely deserves. It's definitely. I guess you can put it in top 10.
It leans into the overly funny and ridiculous, and like
just...
people love camp, and so we've seen throughout the years, and some people really respect that, and like the fact that he have fun with it. It's like you could tell, even if you aren't a fan of it, you could tell everyone that was in the making of the film, all the actors had like a blast, and that's like you could. I could feel that through the screen, which is fun.
I just don't feel like it works with Thor's character. I just don't. I mean, Thor can be comedic. It's not like we can do that, but I feel like when you take away all the the tension and drama of Thor, it's like what's the point of it?
Okay, so you prefer Thor 1? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying Thor 1.
I'll say that. I prefer Thor 1. But that's just me.
Thor's kind of always been like a himbo though, and they're like leaning into that, which is like I like that.
Yeah, it's like it's not that we can't have it doesn't have to be this super serious thing where it's like the god and all this weird nonsense, right? It doesn't have to be like that. I'm just saying that when we make a character that is known to be a god and we just make him completely jokey and all this kind of stuff, it kind of ruins the kind of tension and all that. And I think that's important with Thor's character. Now, any other character, maybe like Ant-Man, that can work, right? But like with Thor's character, that's a different story.
I think it works because it's Thor.
I get that, but then it's like again, this is one of those things where it's like if it wasn't for the fact that it was if it wasn't in this universe, I'd like forgive it. Like if this was like a one-off and then it had to do anything with all the continuities going on, I'd be totally fine with it. But for that, it just came off a little bit like.
Well, I feel like let us know what you guys think.
It was handled like a one-off, and when you think about it like that, it's great. So
yeah. So
we're now in the top 3.
So Iron Man. Well, for sure, this is definitely going to be in the top 5 for sure. So I have nothing against it.
I agree with this.
Yeah.
I agree with this. This is another example. I think of like, this is something that even if it's not technically a masterpiece, it's something that changed the game. Iron Man is that movie. Like more so than any other movie on this list, right? Like the fact that Marvel is having this huge moment and is just this gigantic beast, we owe it to Iron Man.
It's true.
And it is an entertaining movie. I've rewatched it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like easily rewatchable in my opinion.
It's like one of the most quotable, and it's like the very first one, Yeah.
It's well done, like it's built up, setting up, all this stuff. So it's really good structurally as a movie as well.
And just a token of Robert Downey Jr., he's just so charismatic.
Exactly.
There's no way he can be denied as, Tony Stark.
Yeah. I would not put Iron Man in my top 5.
Interesting.
Why? The ending, the villain?
No, I think it's just, I feel like I like a lot of the other movies more. Okay. It's not like I have anything to dislike about Iron Man. I just think that me personally, I like a lot of the other movies more. There's definitely at least 6 or 7 movies in the Marvel universe that I would say I like above Iron Man. But top 10 for sure. I would keep it in the top 10. But I get it. A lot of people really loved the first Iron Man movie. And it's kind of like, the Avengers movie that we talked about, the first Avengers movie. I get it. I'm not mad at it being where it is. I get it. But for me personally, I wouldn't have it in my top 3 or top 5. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one, our number 2 one, which is Avengers Endgame.
I think this is the first. Yeah, this makes sense.
Just you agree with it? I understand it. Yeah.
Just for that Captain America scene with Mjolnir. Already puts
the scene with
top
Mjolnir,
5.
the scene with Captain America and the broken shield in the front of the armies of Thanos. Oh man, so good. And then, there's so many great moments in that movie. Yeah. I think
just for that payoff,
the payoff.
It puts it up there already.
It's the payoff of the Marvel universe, and I get it. And I would probably have it in my top 3, depending on how I feel that day. I would probably have it in my top 3. Yeah. I have nothing to say about it.
Yeah, definitely. It borderlines in my list between 3 or 4 because it's like something. So like you said, it depends on your day, but I definitely put it in top 3. It's just payoff, but it goes back to what I said about the first Avengers, where it's like it's that type of movie, right? Like the first time we had a cinematic universe kind of movie. So for it to just be a conclusion of what's been going on, it also, that's another reason why it's also up there. It's like the first conclusion we've had over a movie that's literally a decade of a bunch of stories coming together. So
I think it should be number one.
So
You think it should be number one?
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that.
I mean, if it's your number one, that's all good.
I'm not mad at that. They're like,
I don't judge.
honestly, there's like 4 movies that are interchangeable for number one for me in the Marvel universe, and this is one of them for sure.
Okay. And the course number one we all have is Black Panther as number 1, 96 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I just mentioned that there are 4 movies that are interchangeable as number one for me. Black Panther isn't one of them.
Black Panther is?
It's not one of them.
It's not one of them.
But I would have it in my top 5 for sure. I would have it in my top 5.
This is one where it's, like I said, it's more of a cultural moment than an actual technical masterpiece.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it. I don't agree with it. I understand it though.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie. The characters are fun. You love Wakanda for sure after watching this film.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff, I mean, we've talked about it before, like a lot of the CGI fight scenes were like almost noticeably like CGI-y bad.
Yeah.
But it's also like one of the first Marvel movies with like a good villain.
Oh,
so
yes.
I will give it that. Like they did
definitely.
that with Killmonger.
Yes.
So yeah, I think there's a lot to love about Black Panther. And
Did you guys watch? I know you haven't. Have you watched the What If with?
Oh no, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
I need to look that up.
I enjoyed it.
yeah, no, everyone loves Killmonger. Yeah. What do you guys think?
I
You agree with
mean,
it?
I definitely agree with it being like top 5, and I can understand people's number 1. Part of me does feel Black Panther's a little bit overrated in my eyes.
I can see that.
I do think it's a little bit overhyped, and I get why. Like, I get a cultural phenomenon. It was kind of like, most people made a joke that for most African Americans, it was like our Star Wars. Like, we finally got like a fantasy film, which was pretty nice, and it was really popular.
Yeah.
But to the point where it was almost nominated for Best Picture on the Oscars. That was when I was questioning things like, whoa, I mean, I love this movie too, but are we seriously saying this is like a
Best
movie
Picture?
Oscar?
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
but that aside,
that aside,
I think it belongs on this list.
yeah,
Top 5, top 3.
yeah,
Maybe not number 1, but it belongs on here.
It's not number 1. 100% it's not number 1.
yeah.
It's
Like, I think movie-wise, structurally, story-wise, there are plenty of other movies that are better.
Yeah.
Infinity War, in my opinion, is better. Endgame had a better payoff. I just don't think it's number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really ambitious. I think where it fell flat is just...
I like Thor Ragnarok better.
Oh my
Wow.
God. We really gotta have this
that.
talk.
I don't
This
know
is gonna
about
be a
that,
separate
y'all.
video.
But yeah, Black Panther's good. I mean, Chadwick Boseman killed it. Like,
Yeah.
he's an example of an adventure that's like more on the serious side, and he's great for it.
Yeah, that was another thing that I
respect
loved
that.
about this movie. Because I think we had this. I don't know if this video is still up on our channel where we were talking about predictions about Black Panther. And one of my fears was like, I hope they don't make it too jokey. And I feel like this movie barely had much jokes. So they actually really like,
They had like jokes, but it wasn't like a jokey movie.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and it was serious because it's like he's the leader of like all these people, and like there's a lot on the line, like having to deal with like ancestral trauma, dealing with family, like those things are like serious to like the culture, and like putting that in film. I feel like it's like a little bit of like what Shang-Chi was doing. It's like, this is what's important to us, like family, honor. And like having that in here and having it hit was like really important for a lot of people to see.
And I low-key feel like that's kind of the way that I was hoping Thor would go. Like after the first movie, I was like, okay, we're gonna get like the family drama, and the seriousness is like royalty we're talking about. But then it kind of just like ended up being what it was. But something like Black Panther, which has the similar themes of like family drama, royalty, the lineage and all of that stuff, was able to ascend to a height for me, which puts it above Thor Ragnarok.
He's like looking straight at us.
Okay.
And then similarly, I think that Shang-Chi did a similar thing where it's like, it's royalty in the sense of his father is the leader of the 10 rings. and stuff like that. So it's kind of similar. It has a lot of similar tie-ins. But I don't know. I feel like I don't know if they're ever gonna get back to that with Thor. I don't think so. I think that train has left.
over.
I mean, he's gonna be in like the next Guardians film, so that's your answer.
I think the train is
Perfect.
on that.
Scott is
Yeah, I'm into it. I like Guardians.
I'm saying like my favorite comedy one and then your favorite comedy ones.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna
cool.
come together.
I'm gonna hope it's
not
great.
directed by
I
Thor.
like
It's
Guardians
great.
without Thor, but like
Guardians with Thor.
Guardians
With
with Thor,
Thor.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Scott. I'm
But
excited
see,
too.
my only
Hopefully it's
worry
good.
about Guardians Galaxy, it's not being directed by James Gunn. So.
Oh, he's back. They brought him back.
Oh, they brought him back?
Yeah, for
Okay, I
Guardians
guess
3.
there's...
Yeah, because there was that whole thing.
Yeah, there was
no,
the
they brought him
controversy.
back.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, I disagree with this list because it doesn't have Infinity War on it.
Yes, 100%.
That's like the
Oh
biggest
yeah,
grievance
we
for
talk
sure.
about. We can talk about omissions now.
Yeah, let's talk about the movies that needed to be on the list.
Definitely.
In my opinion, Infinity War is probably my number one.
That's one
I
of the ones that would be number one for me. That
So the fact that it's not
switch
even
out.
on this list makes me think this list is nonsense.
sense.
Yes,
It makes no
it's
sense.
BS for sure. So we gotta do that. I can't believe they don't have Winter Soldier, which was like one of the best movies.
That's the other one that would be number one for me.
That's definitely a tie
The
for the
other
top
one.
one for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of the mix of the listing, like certain ones like Civil War should have been more higher.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can agree with on this list, like, that should be there is Thor Ragnarok. That's it.
Thor Ragnarok. So you agree with Thor Ragnarok on the list? Well, that's the thing.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
There's Endgame being up there. That works for me. Ironman works for me. Shang-Chi works for me. But yeah, I think I would rearrange a lot of the stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would rearrange like pretty much all of it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and then I mean, everything like past like 10, 2 is also like I understand because just
Is Captain America one?
what didn't just make this list is
No, it's not
okay.
on the top 10.
Winter Soldier just didn't make the list. It's at 11. Doctor Strange is like weirdly high. I don't think it needs to be. It's like
I like Doctor Strange.
I
I like Doctor Strange, but I don't think it should be 10.
Infinity War. Oh my gosh, Ant-Man and Wasp is a little high also.
I don't know
I
about
like the
that.
first Ant-Man film. That belongs there. Guardians 2 is kind of like close to kind of breaking top 10, but yeah, I mean, and this list will probably change as time goes on also.
Yeah, we'll see what Spider-Man 3 does if they bring in Tobey Maguire.
Toby.
He's home.
If they have maybe if they'll have a Daredevil subplot, we'll see. I don't know.
You'd hate that though.
I would love that.
But it would be a subplot.
Sure, that's fine. I mean, I get it, but
I
if
wouldn't
it's
want it to be a
good,
plot, honestly.
I would want it to be the main plot, but I don't
No.
even think that they're gonna. I don't think they're doing what I want them to do with Daredevil anyway. So
I don't think so either.
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, but let us know what is your guys's, well, based off this list, whether you agree with the top 10 or that you guys have your own list. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.
Later.